Welcome to Indisputable. I am Sharon Reed, in for Dr. Rashad Ritchie. Francesca Fiorentini joins us as our special guest host today, comedian, host of the podcast, Bituation Room. And then there's the other one, News Broke, very successful.
Yes,
you just
RIP.
keep us enlightened, entertained, the whole bit, and we certainly appreciate you. I can't wait to get to your commentary on these stories. And what do you say? We get right to it. And I should mention TYT, of course, contributor, okay? We don't want to miss that. First story of the day, an innocent Black man exonerated after nearly 50 years. You'd raise your arms up like that too. Wow. Per the AP, 71-year-old Glenn Simmons was released in July after prosecutors agreed key evidence in his case was not turned over to his defense lawyers, was ruled innocent Tuesday. An Oklahoma judge exonerated Simmons, who had spent nearly 50 years in prison for murder. He was the longest serving inmate to be declared innocent of a crime. Can you imagine that? Decade after decade goes by. You're still there. Would you give up hope? According to the ruling by Oklahoma County District Judge Amy Palumbo, quote, "This court finds by clear and convincing evidence that the offense for which Mr. Simmons was convicted, sentenced, and imprisoned was not committed by Mr. Simmons." Simmons served 48 years, 1 month, and 18 days since his conviction, making him the longest imprisoned U.S. inmate to be exonerated, according to data kept by the National Registry of Exonerations. Simmons said afterward that he feels vindicated after his time in prison that included initially being sentenced to death row. Associated Press again with the details. "It is a lesson in resilience and tenacity," Simmons said during a brief news conference following the ruling. "Don't let nobody tell you that exoneration can't happen, because it really can." Simmons has maintained his innocence, saying he was in Louisiana at the time of the 1974 slaying of Carolyn Sue Rogers inside an Edmond liquor store. He and the co-defendant, Don Roberts, were both convicted in 1975 of the murder, initially sentenced to death. Their sentences were reduced to life in prison in 1977 after U.S. Supreme Court rulings related to capital punishment. Roberts was released on parole in 2008. In July, Judge Palumbo ordered a new trial for Simmons after DA Vicky Behenna, pictured there, said prosecutors had failed to turn over evidence in the case, including a police report that showed an eyewitness might have identified other suspects in the case. Also disturbing. All of it.
Wild.
It is. Behenna, in September, said there is no longer physical evidence in the case against Simmons and announced she would not retry him, though she opposed declaring him actually innocent. Spokesperson for Behenna declined immediate comment on Wednesday. Defense attorney Joe Norwood said Wednesday the ruling makes Simmons eligible for up to, wait for it, 50 years in prison. I know he's going to get probably millions, right? $175,000 in compensation from the state for wrongful conviction. Opens the door for a federal lawsuit against Oklahoma City and law enforcement involved in Simmons' arrest and conviction. Compensation, though, is likely years away, Norwood said, and Simmons is currently living on donations while undergoing treatment for cancer that was detected after his release from prison. No real checkups in prison, are there? Norwood explained, quote, "Glenn is having to live off of GoFundMe." That's literally how the man is surviving right now, paying rent, buying food, getting him compensation. Getting compensation is not for sure, is in the future. And he has to sustain himself now. That this man is celebrating, Francesca, and encouraging others not to give up hope after 5 decades in prison for a crime he didn't commit, cancer not detected in prison, and not a red cent, is something I want to commend him for, but it's also something I want to flag. It's as if we've all been indoctrinated here. I don't want to move on. I want to talk about the crime that was committed. And I'm not talking about the one he was railroaded for. My God, these laws have got to change. I'll do the math, but first I'll give you the floor.
No, I mean, and he barely escaped the death penalty, right? It was because of minimal prison reform that he was actually, saved and spared from that. But he could have very well been killed by the state at this point. I mean, look, I think you have to acknowledge the resilience, and he calls it resilience and grace and salvation. You have to acknowledge what this man has gone through, and who among us would be able to survive 48 years in prison from a wrongful conviction, right? It is, and for people who have gone through that, they have this moment of kind of peace and forgiveness. And I know that sounds wild, but there are incredible accounts of people who now currently work against the death penalty, work against solitary confinement and other horrific things that we do to prisoners in this country. And they say it is by this deep forgiveness that they can kind of keep on going, knowing that they were innocent. But on the other hand, exactly as you're saying, $175,000, he's undergoing treatment for cancer, which anyone who's been through treatment for cancer knows that that's a year of cancer treatment, if that, right? And there needs to be justice for him. I think the one saving grace is he's got his name. His family has his name, and they know he was innocent, even if he's not being labeled innocent. It is wild you can go 48 years and not have the proof, the evidence against you ever appearing. And you have to imagine that if this were not, I imagine, sort of working class black man in Oklahoma, things might be very different.
Well, you said it all. I agree with it 100%. There are other things. I did the math. I just rounded it up to 50 years, but about 3,500 plus a year.
My God.
Are you kidding me? Not even poverty level. Okay. 3,500 a year. And you have a prosecutor given a certain set of facts. I won't commend her for acknowledging there's not evidence. And I don't offer her anything. I'm disgusted. Oh, I don't want to exonerate him though, Judge. That's too much. That's a bridge too far. Really? And I know that there's talk of a federal lawsuit against Oklahoma and those who wronged this man, this innocent man. But we all know that's an uphill battle, don't we? It's very difficult because, certain people act with impunity. You really can't do anything to them. They made a mistake. I don't think you should be afforded these kinds of mistakes that are often called mistakes, but are really willful misconduct.
Yeah.
You hid evidence and his life was literally taken from him.
Yeah.
Okay. He's older. He has cancer. He's a good soul, apparently, because I don't know another way you could live if you didn't just breathe and decide that you're not going to go forward, not one more day being angry. So I am happy about that. Why not just give him some money? And why not change the laws and make it so, Fran, that if you hide evidence, and we can prove it, why not leave it up to a jury? That's what they do. If we can prove it, we can indict you, and then you can plead your case in front of a jury, just like you wanted, I don't know, him to do. This cannot continue.
Yeah. No, our justice system, the people who get away with this, they continue to serve. And I know we have more stories about cops coming up, but the entire justice system, what happens when you've kept a man in prison for nearly 50 years? Do you face any retribution? The state might have to pay. Whose money is that? That's taxpayer money, right? That could go to other things than paying out this poor man. But yeah, it's a wild case. I'm glad he's free.
Take their pension too while you're at it. Why does that have to be exempt? Let them keep $3,500 per service year. I'd be okay with that. But the rest should go to Mr. Simmons. That's what should happen. If it's proved that this was more than a mistake, but willful misconduct, you're supposed to turn over evidence. Just like you're supposed to read someone their Miranda rights. That it so often just doesn't seem to get done. Strange, no? Outrageous. We salute you, Mr. Simmons. And I suspect you're right, Francesca, that the reason those exonerated, fortunate, I guess, enough to be exonerated, do go and work on behalf of this their counterparts who are also dealing with something, unfairness, the hand they were dealt. It's no wonder they do that. A 2-year-old Black girl arrested. Did I read that right? Arrested in Rosa Parks demonstration. Florida, the Building Brains Academy preschool. Ironic. Being accused of conducting a role play instruction on Rosa Parks that involved putting a 2-year-old Black girl in handcuffs and being fingerprinted by a white peer. Girl's parents had photographs of the activity and upon confronting the school claimed they were refused an apology. After all, it's the Building Brains Academy. They know best. That's why it's named that, right? The Building Brains. A name change might be in order. NBC West News, Library of Congress with the details. The incident happened on December 1 when a class of 2- and 3-year-old children were learning about Rosa Parks, civil rights activist, said a spokesperson at Building Brains Academy, a minority-owned and operated preschool in Osceola, Florida. The girl, who the NAACP alleged was the only Black student in the class, played Parks during a reenactment of her 1955 arrest for refusing to give up her seat at the front of a segregated bus. NBC. Photos of the reenactment showed to NBC News by the NAACP show the girl's peer pretending to fingerprint her with paint and holding her hands behind her back. Photos were shared with the class parents. The girl's parents pulled her out of the school within 30 minutes of seeing the images, telling NBC News they were horrified. The girl's parents last communicated with the school in a phone call. That was December 1, when they said there was no formal apology for what happened or a response that would result in any type of impact or change. I mean, can you not fingerprint another 2-year-old Black girl and put her in cuffs? I think that's the change that they were perhaps as a baseline looking for here. Spokesperson for the school denied that it had initially refused to apologize. Well, I'm waiting to get to the part where I read the apology that was given public, but I'll keep going for you. NAACP wrote in a letter to the school saying, quote, "We consider the activity an inappropriate trivialization of a significant historical event, insensitive to the struggles against segregation and psychologically harmful to all students involved, especially Black students, reenacting such a traumatic moment in American history." In a news release, the NAACP alleged that the girl was handcuffed and fingerprinted by a white peer, but the preschool spokesperson, Sandy Pareda, said that the peer was not white and that no restraints of any kind were actually used. Well, that clears it up, Miss Pareda. That clears everything up, doesn't it? Paola Rosado, the preschool's owner and founder, wrote in a letter responding to the NAACP, "The photos of the class activity do not offer a complete or accurate representation of the full lesson about the importance of equal rights. Our school believes in and teaches the importance of equality, of standing up for our rights, and of speaking up when we see something isn't right." The role play was spontaneously planned by the teacher. That explains it. And is not part of the school's regular curriculum. Rosado said, Building Brains Academy claimed that it apologized to parents at the school for the incident and communicated its regrets to the NAACP. Building Brains Academy now requires its faculty to get any deviations from the approved curriculum approved by the school demonstration to avoid similar incidents. Rosado said, a spokesperson for the academy said the teacher had apologized and now understands why the incident should not have happened. This is so nutty. And I'm going to start with this, Francesca. It could very well be that the owner, spokespeople believe in equality, but they done messed up here. This is so daft and ridiculous. And the fact that why is getting an apology? I mean, anybody who has a narcissist in their life knows that it's not going to happen. You're not going to get the apology. For the rest of you out there, explain to me why it's like, I don't know, you're being skinned alive if you just have to say, whoa, messed up big time. I know the statement, Francesca, I would have given to the NAACP, to the parents in question. I know what I would have said. And it starts with taking a huge bite of humble pie.
Yeah, no, 100%. I mean, the fact that they didn't apologize. Let's take this for parts, right? I think it's pretty notable that this was in Florida, and this is a lesson about Rosa Parks. I thought that teaching about the civil rights movement was illegal, right? Under the Stop Woke Act, especially to, this is my second point, 2-year-olds and 3-year-olds. That's a little bitty baby. This is a preschool lesson. I don't know. I might side with some strange bedfellows in this one, some Republicans, by saying like 2 might be a little too young to start with the civil rights movement. They literally have to learn their ABCs. Like that's what we're on at 2 years old. So that's also questionable. But finally, this idea of role playing. And I think this happens, when you get older, if you're 6, 7, 8, when you're a teen, when you're in high school, when you're in college, and you are a Black student among mostly white students. In no world should you be made to play the role of your historically oppressed ancestors in some ways, right? Like that is an incredibly uncomfortable position to put a Black student in. I don't think it is fair. I don't think it's smart. There's other ways. Look, we all know educators, you can do other things. Look, if you have like a red square, you're a special person, but if you have a green, triangle, you are discriminated against. Like how can we, understand race and racism in ways that are still poignant and important and not ahistorical, but don't single out the Black students and sort of make almost weirdly re-traumatize them. I mean, if you were learning about slavery and then you're like, well, time to shackle the Black students. Are you kidding me? Yeah. You know what I mean? So it's like, it's so fitting that of course oh, sure, it's Florida. They're like, we thought you wanted this. We thought this was critical race theory. You're like, no. So it's so funny, Sharon, that we're tiptoeing around white students' feelings in Florida, but a 2-year-old Black student, a Black kid, baby, can be handcuffed. What?
And we need to get a few more things straight, okay? White presenting and white skin, okay? There can be Black Hispanics and white Hispanics and quibbling over who has a certain hue, who did the fingerprinting and all that. The kids are all victims. Okay, that's number one. Number two, I hope that Jane Elliott can retire. See, she's done enough. She's put herself out there and tried to educate scores of people and dial back racism. Jane Elliott is a hero. So when Francesca mentions a red square or a blue one, whichever side you're on, there's so many ways that you could demonstrate, illustrate, instead of singling out the Black kid.
Right.
That's what you mean. But unfortunately, Jane, you must not retire because there are people at, what is it called? I've lost the page. What?
Building
Academy?
Building
Brains Academy who need you. And you're right, 2 and 3 years old. We should be on the lesson where, Billy, you can't have all 24 cookies. You have to share with your friends. Everyone's called your friend, not fingerprints with finger paint and handcuffs. I'll give you the last word, Fran.
No, there's nothing else to say. You're totally right. It's so ridiculous. It's just like, talk about trying to do the right lesson or trying to have a good message with a horrible lesson and the wrong set of students. Again, they're playing with finger paint. They're not learning about like, this is how to arrest people. What? Ugh. Oh, Florida, try again, guys. You're so close.
Jane, you gotta get down there. Okay, I know you deserve a break. She does, she deserves a break. Okay, I want you to put her up in a 5-star. Really, she deserves a palace. I want you to treat her with deference, give her a driver. She'll probably sit in the front seat knowing her right there with him. Or her, but she's got to get their stat to the Building Brains Academy because they're not quite getting it. Okay? They're just not quite getting it. I would love to talk to her. I'd love to just hug her. I really want to hug her because she tried. You remember that one video, Fran, where she stands before It looks like an auditorium or a theater. And she looks out into the audience and she says, now, before we get started, I just want anyone in the audience who is willing to trade places with Black people to raise your hand. That's the funniest thing.
Yeah.
Not a single, no one. And she said, well, you know it. Okay, so let's stop pretending you don't know what I'm talking about. Not a single one of you raised your hand and wanted to trade places here, okay? Which brings up that other movie. Eddie Murphy did a bang-up job in that one. Nobody wants to trade places. And you know why. You got it? This is indisputable. Francesca Fiorentini joins us as our special guest host today, offering her incredible commentary. Check out the Bituation Room, okay? And News Broke. She's a wonderful host, an insightful host. She gets all of us thinking. I am in for Dr. Rashad Ritchie today, appreciative of being given the chair for this day. We're right back. My favorite segment. That's the gift that keeps giving. I wish a Karen would.
You want to call the police on them for having a barbecue on a Sunday.
I feel free! Back off!
I'm going to tell them there's an African-American man threatening my life.
Problems? I know the owner. You want problems? Keep going.
I didn't touch your property. I haven't been down there. Where are my footprints? Where are my footprints?
Keep going. You want to
You started.
I asked you not to poop on my property.
You didn't. Did I poop on your property?
Hey, then shut your mouth.
No, don't
Quit yelling at me.
Don't start me, and I won't have to yell at you.
Oh, you're going down.
Oh yeah, yeah. You're a real class act, dude.
Come touch me. Come touch me.
Why? Why would I do that?
Put your money where your mouth is.
Why do you want that to happen?
I'm going to call the cops right now.
Go ahead, and what are you going to tell them?
That's true.
That I did what? I'm in my yard, dude. I was on my yard. You stick your head out the window, blaming me for dog in a rude way, and you wonder why I'm going to react rude to you because you were rude to me in the first place. And if you can't get that through your head, go ahead and call whoever you need to. Have a nice day, dude.
I mean, it ended better than it started. He said, have a nice day. Okay. These neighbors are off on the wrong foot. I'm already taking a side. You would think that have a nice day, dude, would be, I mean, shouldn't that be the end of it? No. If that's what you were thinking, you're wrong.
Yeah, really nice neighbor.
You're a real nice neighbor. I've never seen you here, ever. No, you started this.
Out of my face then.
I'm in my yard. Remember, I'm in my yard.
Your dog, his dog, any dog on my grass.
Good for you. Go for it, dude. Do you think management gives a about any of this?
I'm gonna poop back on your porch. How about that?
You come up. Oh, you're gonna put poop on my porch?
You gonna let your dog poop on my porch?
I don't have a dog, dude.
Why didn't you say that in the first place?
I don't have a dog. I haven't been on your property.
Where's your dude then?
What?
Why don't you call your dude out?
What? Why? Why are you gonna him now?
Why didn't you tell me it wasn't your dog?
I did.
No, you never did.
I did. I said I don't have a dog, and I said no dog there, and you assumed that I did. No, you're tripping. You're pissed off because your power's probably out. And you come out here and you're looking for someone to blame.
Power's out too.
So what? I'm not out here. I'm not out here.
I asked them not to poop in my yard. I had the guy pick up.
I
cleaned up all your.
Oh my. I don't have a dog, dude.
All your ass burning and blowing in my. You blew snow on this.
Bury the lead. That's why you got to listen and not just talk. And you have to, when you're engaged in a conversation, be willing to really, it's not about responding. Hold back. Listen, not his dog. And, we don't even know if a dog, maybe someone's incontinent. You ever think of that? And they might live in a complex and they had a problem. Okay, let's hold your thought, dude, and get to the heart of this thing. It's still not done. There's more.
You are the
What are you talking about?
I'm talking about respect for your neighbor.
Then show some respect and don't come at me like you did out that window, dude. But we're beyond that. We're beyond that now.
If you jump into my face, I'm going to come at you.
I'm not in your face.
You jumped in my face.
No, I didn't. I've been up on my wall this whole time, dude.
Come on down.
I didn't. No. Why? What are you going to do? You going to fuck me up? You threatening me now?
I'm not threatening you.
Yeah, you are. Why would I come down there? He started it. Yo, you just said, he started it. So please.
I asked you to not put poop on my yard.
I didn't. When have I ever put poop in your yard? I don't have a dog, dude.
Keep yelling.
I've had this all on video, dude. You've been on video for like the past
Keep
5
yelling.
minutes.
Oh, your video, my video. Oh, it's so funny. Oh. Okay, well, management's gonna call you then.
Okay.
You got issues.
Is that a threat? You got issues. You're the one starting at 7:15 in the morning.
If I was threatening you, you would know. Okay, that's not.
You've already did like 10 times. But you know what? I don't care. I'm not scared of you. I didn't hurt you. I didn't threaten you.
Not to poop on my lawn.
I don't have a dog to poop on your lawn, dude. Do you see a dog around here? Are you seeing stuff? You're seeing poop? Are you seeing a dog?
I'm glad you're videoing yourself because you're psycho.
I'm videoing you. Have a nice day, dude. Enjoy those phone calls that you're going to make.
Okay. And I hope it's Friday when this transpired. What I'm not going to do is sit up and argue with you and proclaim that it's not my poop at 7:15 in the morning. I'm not going to do that. Now, I might go to the nearest shelter and adopt a sweet pooch. And now I do have a dog, and we'll see what ends up on your yard. That's not right either. But this is absurd, Francesca. He looks like a young Joe Pesci to me. Joe Pesci's only 5'4". And I'm not suggesting, other than a movie character, Joe Pesci would even behave this way. But once I tell you, you overreacted, it's not my dog's poop because, oh yeah, I don't have a dog. I guess it was too much to walk back.
You know, he really tried to triple, quadruple down, quintuple down, and he kept losing. It wasn't, my favorite part of this whole saga is when he tries to make it about, you're ashing on my lawn. Like, oh, okay, so now you're moving the goalpost. Now it's not about dog poop because you just said he didn't have a dog. Why doesn't he just yell, I'm sorry? Like, I'm sorry, okay? I've had a bad morning. And I love how the guy who's filming him is like, look, I know what's happened. You woke up. You don't have power, like I don't have power, and you decided to get mad. And he just like gives him this great read where he's like, bro, calm down. And also the man filming sounds younger. And this guy's clearly just kind of I don't know, just becoming more crotchety by the day. Yeah. And you're just like, I don't know, it gives me a little bit of hope in like the younger generations that are like, yeah, assess your anger right now. You're just mad at someone for no reason. Things suck because it's snowing, it's probably cold, and you don't have any power, and you're just looking for somebody to blame for random dog poop. I love that.
I do too, and I love it. And you're right, there's a generational divide. This generation, we suspect the man filming the Karen is from a place where therapy's good. Therapy's accepted, perhaps had years of therapy and knew how to. So what I'm hearing you say is, mirror it, diagnose it. Totally. And I think it sounds like it was qualified. I believe it's qualified. Just insane that it went on. We're all capable of having a bad day. I don't know why you're doing this, but that it went on for so long.
I know.
Your poop, not my poop. Your poop, not my poop. Not my dog. Don't have a dog. Poop, 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 poop. Really? Really? Okay. NYPD cop sleeping during a protest shared inappropriate pictures. Now, what would be the motivation here? According to the New York Post, NYPD Lieutenant Scott Malign, who was caught in photos sleeping in a police vehicle during a Black Lives Matter march at the Brooklyn Bridge, showed pictures of his genitals to Officer Alexandria Sanchez, a fellow cop, both on duty. Sanchez claimed the 58-year-old boss also smacked Sanchez's butt. Okay. At least we know he wasn't worried about the Black Lives Matter protesters. Something else was going on. The lurid tale began in 2019 when Milne became Sanchez's supervisor. Sanchez, 44, was driving Milne with another female officer during the Brooklyn Half Marathon that year. When he started talking about his social life, he just started talking about, I'm always on Tinder and I show pictures of myself to women. The married mom of 3 told the Post. This is the picture I show them. And he pulled out his phone and he showed us the picture of his penis. New York Post. There's a lot I could say there.
Classy.
Right. Did they have to zoom in? There's more details. Okay. He also told the cops he meets women from the dating app at hot sheet hotels. Then he asked, how about a hotel? Sanchez recalled. Sanchez was angry, called him a dirty old man, but she and the other female cop didn't complain because they feared retaliation. Right. Sanchez said she never drove him again, but the frat house atmosphere continued at the precinct. He'll come into a room and be like, everybody take your clothes. Take off your clothes. Let's party. Sanchez claimed, speaking of the officer in the office where she worked. He would also talk about his penis being circumcised. And then he'd laugh about it. This is your boss? And the New York Post with the details here. Only the best people get promoted. This must be an isolated incident. June 2020, Milne was at the Black Lives Matter protest in Brooklyn when he was caught on camera snoozing inside a temporary, this guy's work. It really is a piece of work, headquarters vehicle. Radio in hand, photos show. Another photo shows him lying back in a booth with his belly leaning on a table inside the vehicle. You're just going to make yourself right at home. 2021, Milne slapped her rear end so hard it irritated a back injury. That's what she alleges. I'm standing by the desk with my sergeant and I'm leaned over. We were comparing notes and I felt a large smack on my buttocks, Sanchez said of the incident in the precinct. I stood up and turned around like, what the just happened? So I grabbed a stapler from the top of the desk and I threw it at him and it hit the door. She also shrieked, my back, prompting Milne to laugh. I didn't smack your back, I smacked your ass, he told her. Is this an SNL skit? We cover a lot of stories, but we did make sure this is, the team, they know what they're doing. The sergeant also laughed. He said, I dared him, but I didn't think he was going to do it. The sergeant said, according to Sanchez. Right, they're solving crimes. Soon after, Milne began to deny her request for time off, put her on tours that made it difficult to see her kids, meted out unfair discipline, and threatened to transfer her back to patrol, she alleged. In 2022, she went out sick, and Milne called her delegate and said he wanted her out of her position where she was in charge of sending cops to training, she said. She has since been transferred to nights in downtown Manhattan, a 90-minute commute each way from her Long Island home where she has a 10 and 14-year-old child. I'm beside myself. She said, I never thought in my career that I would come down this path. It's scary. I've seen what happens to you when you make allegations against a member of service. It's becoming a living hell. NYPD released a statement saying, quote, I do even have to read it, but I'll go ahead and read it just for kicks and giggles. Does not tolerate discrimination or sexual harassment in any form and is committed to respectful work environments for a diverse workforce. Said any investigation would be confidential. I think you better run and tell it. I think you better investigate and run and tell it. This is clearly systemic when even the police are telling on the police about this kind of discrimination, this kind of retaliation. There's still those who read about this and say, oh, those cops are good, a few bad apples. This is insane.
No, the worst part about this story to me is the retaliation, right? I mean, there's something so chilling about workplace retaliation from the police department, people who allegedly enforce the law. What's the recourse there? And this is for women who are in law enforcement and also women who are in the military in all aspects and branches of the military. We know that the cases of sexual abuse, assault, rape are far higher. And it's far less reported, because who do you go to, right? And this is what happens when you do actually speak out about it, right? And this is what happens when you so-called cross that thin blue line, when you actually call out a fellow officer or even your boss.
Yep.
And you heard in that instance where her butt was slapped that, it was a joke that the sergeant sort of egged him on to do it. So again, this is why people don't speak out about these stories, but this is classic, what the Me Too movement and what we still need to keep fighting for, which is actually a safe place to not just live and to work and to do your damn job, but also to be able to, when something does happen, have some sort of chain of command of accountability so that person faces the music. But look, the best thing this guy did was sleep during a BLM demonstration, because let's be real, there are way too many cops cracking skulls during that time. So good on him, bro. Good on you and your little penis pics for just taking a little nap. I'm glad you napped your way out of that one.
The behavior is so egregious. It's not an inference here, which is real. It's not a covert op. You're literally not having any kind of flirtatious talk, according to the woman in uniform who reported this. And you decide to just start showing pictures of, what, and smacking people. That's assault and sexual assault. It's so egregious that we must conclude it is systemic. The problem, though, Francesca, is I don't know how you finally bust up or start chipping away at this blue wall. There are women who are in law enforcement, not as many, but they're there. It's the fear, the retaliation, the nonsense. I don't know how you do it. They tried to bust up, was it AT&T? They broke up, too big. Okay, antitrust.
Right.
And our bills are still too high. I say that loosely, but I don't know what you do here to protect people, including her children.
I mean, also think of how potential suspects are treated, right? This is nothing. I mean, the NYPD, as many police departments, have tons of allegations and actually proven instances of sexual assault of inmates or of people that were under their control and care, people that they were detaining or arresting. So if this is how you treat, again, your fellow officers, how do you treat the people you're supposedly, wielding the law over? It's just wild. I mean, how many more instances like this? I mean, kudos to this officer for speaking out. I hope more can speak out. It's only, and this is, we're at a time when the right is telling us that women in law enforcement is woke, that people of color in the military is woke, and the whole thing. So anyway, I hope more speak out so we can actually push back and change the culture of these places.
Yeah, I do. We'll leave it there. We'll keep following the story. This is indisputable. I'm Sharon Reed, and for Dr. Rashad Ritchie, Francesca Fiorentini is our special guest co-host today. Much more indisputable when we come right back. If you're an officer conducting a genderqueer book search inside a school classroom, maybe that's part of it. Too much time on your hands. Per the Berkshire Eagle, in Great Barrington, Massachusetts, a plainclothes police officer entered an 8th grade classroom to search for a book, wearing a body cam to record an incident which has raised legal questions and concerns. Great Barrington. The Eagle reports the ACLU and other free speech advocates are alarmed by the recording, as well as the entire December 8th incident. Happened right after classes let out at W.E.B. Du Bois Regional Middle School. Advocates also say they cannot recall any instances of police going to a school to search for a book, as schools and libraries have internal procedures for book challenges. This is where we're at, America. Ruth Borquin, senior managing attorney for the ACLU of Massachusetts, told the Eagle, quote, "That's partly what is so concerning. Police going into schools and searching for books is the sort of thing you hear about in communist China and Russia. What are we doing?" Borquin informed the Eagle the ACLU has requested for the body cam footage and other records related to the complaint and the investigation. In a statement sent to the school community Tuesday, Berkshire Hills Regional School Committee and Superintendent Peter Dillon, pictured there, have apologized for how the situation was handled, stating clearly and unequivocally, this does not support book banning. And they don't. And they are committed to making all of its students feel safe. Eagle reports it was an anonymous complaint that led Great Barrington Police to open a probe about whether parts of the book, Genderqueer, by Maya Kobabe, could be considered obscene material or even pornographic. Kobabe's award-winning illustrated novel is the frequent target of bans, and according to American Library Association data, was the #1 most banned book last year. Coming of age, right, she badge of honor. Coming of age memoir contains sexually explicit illustrations and language, which many in LGBTQ plus community believe is the reason for the censorship outcry. Eagle reported the police then notified the Berkshire District Attorney's Office, as per the department's policy. Pictured here, Chief Paul Storty of the Great Barrington PD and Berkshire DA Timothy Shugru. They'll get to the bottom of it. Police also notified school and district administrators they were coming to the classroom, and the officer was escorted there by the school principal, who is Miles Wheat. Okay, a lot of people involved in this investigation. The teacher who kept the book in her resource library was surprised to see the officer. The officer announced he was turning on his body camera and then looked for the book and did not find it. The DA ordered the investigation closed. The matter of whether the book is appropriate now rests with the schools, Berkshire Eagle, reporting details. Now, the school committee said it would work to collect feedback on how it can do better, starting by hosting a community meeting on January 11th, but questions remain. And the ACLU parents, students, others remain shocked by the police involvement. The Eagle noted Governor Maura Healey expressed disapproval of the incident and of book banning in general. Governor Healey is the first woman and first openly LGBTQ person elected governor in Massachusetts history. Massachusetts, the test for obscenity is if the material is of interest sexually, depicts or describes sexual conduct in a way that is patently offensive to an average citizen of this country. It has no serious value of literary, artistic, political, or scientific kind, according to the state. It was a complaint about so-called obscene materials in the classroom that police say led them there. Something they said they have a duty to investigate. But the ACLU's Bork Quinn disagrees. Very troubled by this notion, she said. They say anytime someone could call, they have an obligation to go marching into places where a body cam and, wearing one, interrogating people. Or Quinn said, state laws, she said, are pretty clear about police not having roles in this situation. Both the state and federal constitutions also protect the rights of students to receive information, she added, noting the ACLU and GLAAD, legal advocates and defenders for the LGBTQ community, sent an open letter in January to school superintendents statewide, given the rise in attempts to ban school library books. That letter, also sent to the Massachusetts Association of School Committees, noted that legally such bans may constitute unlawful discrimination. The letter says the courts have recognized that the fact that some parents do not want their children to read certain books cannot justify depriving other students of their rights of access. I don't know why the district attorney would close this case, Francesca. I say keep the case open, but maybe turn it in a different direction.
Yeah.
Okay? It needs to be investigated thoroughly and not just swept under the rug. Someone has an agenda here.
Yeah.
I want to hear the anonymous call if it was recorded, by the way. Was there really an anonymous call? I don't know.
Even if it was, this is the same level of someone calling in I see spirits in my living room, or my dog won't go pee-pee on the pee-pee pad. This is legit. This is okay, ma'am, thank you for letting us know. Yeah. Bye-bye, bye-bye. This is also it's wild that it's Massachusetts, right? Ostensibly you'd think this would happen in somewhere like Florida. So a cop has the time, clearly not much going on in Great Barrington, to go, he didn't bust down the door, but searching a teacher's school classroom for a book Yeah, it is something you'd see in communist China, I guess, or like, under the Third Reich under Nazi rule. Like this is where this is happening. Like they think that we're making a big deal about, book bans or, it's not Nazi stuff. No, it is. It legitimately is. And you guys are the ones who are afraid of things being canceled and free speech. Except when it comes to trans people or talking about being gender queer. I mean, this book I think has been really important for a lot of people around this country. And maybe we should all read Genderqueer to better understand what genderqueer people, trans people, non-binary people, what everyone like their identities. Maybe this cop should actually find the book, read it himself, but it's just wild that this is like the level that we've gone to. And so the fact that, yes, the ACLU said there's a law in the books that said this is illegal. You cannot do this. Yeah, let's talk about them laws, because this is what this country is like. We're we're a nation of laws, and then they get skirted all the time. And the only time anyone's held accountable is when they're skirted by people of color, left-wing activists, poor people. That's the only people get held accountable for anything in this country. But if you're wealthy, if you're on the right, you can skirt the law. You can do an insurrection, and we'll make you president again.
Yeah. Well, Great Barrington, Massachusetts. You asked, I pulled it up. They don't have a lot of crime there.
Yeah.
Okay. The 2020 is the stats I have last time reported here. 2 rapes, 2 robberies, 5 assaults, 7 burglaries, 37 thefts, 2 auto thefts, and 2 arson. That's citydata.com. Now, listen, 1 rape is too many. And I think if they're just even this handful of crimes, 76 in 1 year in Great Barrington, they better solve them all next time before they get to turning on a body cam and going in W.E.B. Du Bois Middle School. You might want to solve everything. And if you're done with that, check your reports for typos, okay? Clean the office, okay? Wash the police cruisers. Anything else? Okay, go play catch with some kids and don't bring your political agenda with you. At the local park, take out garbage for single mothers. I don't know. Before you get to the middle school and this nonsense, a lot more you could do, Fran.
Yeah, well said.
It's just, I'm not understanding here, but I think I get it. I think we all get it, and I'd like to see some accountability here. It seems that they're also taking it out on this historic elected governor. And it seems like a pretty clear case of what they be trying to do in Great Barrington, Massachusetts. We'll see. A comedian reads explicit Bible verses to moms for liberty. Probably enjoyed it. Watch.
I'm here today to talk about these woke schools that are failing to educate our children. When I look around this room, I don't see race. I don't even know what race is. So when you say things like slavery is bad, I'm like, bad for who? The Irish? I brought with me today a book that is available to children of all ages in the school's library. This book is filled with overt sexual acts, violence. It celebrates mass killings, and it's being used to indoctrinate our children. I'm going to read you some passages from this book, and you tell me whether or not this book is appropriate for your children. The Lord tried to kill Moses, but Zipporah used a sharpened stone and cut off their son's foreskin and rubbed the bloody ring on Moses' feet, saying, "You are now my bridegroom." This made the Lord leave Moses alone. If a slave owner beats a slave, male or female, with a stick so severely that the slave dies immediately, the slave owner should be punished. However, if the slave survives a day or 2, he should get back to work. The slave is the owner's property. The Lord regretted ever creating human beings, and he was sad. So the Lord said, "I will wipe all the human race off the face of the earth. And while I'm at it, I'll kill the livestock and the crawling things too. I'll even kill all the birds in the sky. I wish I'd never created any of them in the first place." Now, do you think a child should be reading this book full of sexual violence and genocide? Books don't belong here at all. Ban this book, and let's focus on science, math, and raising administrators' pay. Thank you.
And
Made his case, didn't he? Yeah, he did. Per Raw story, Walter Masterson, a TikTok comedian known for his satirical routines, recently trolled Moms for Liberty. The activist had a school board meeting by demanding the removal of a certain book full of sexuality and violence. During the course of his speech, however, it became obvious he was quoting the Bible. Imagine that. The video ended with a dig at the right-wing majority within the Central Bucks Board of School Directors. As the Buck Country Beacon reported in July, they secretly rammed through at the last minute with zero transparency a pay increase for Superintendent Abe Luckaball for his loyalty. Right? Be loyal to the students, families who want a good education. There you have it. That said, Luckaball resigned in November after Democrats won big in Philadelphia area school board elections. And according to Business Insider, the outgoing GOP-led board gave him, can I resign from this job? $712,000. That's the severance deal. Wowzer. Back to Masterson, however, as Raw story notes. As Republican activists around the country have mounted campaigns for book censorship in schools, Masterson has done a number of routines mocking them. Earlier this year, Masterson attended a school board meeting in Bucks County, PA, where he demanded the Giving Tree be removed for indoctrinating children with communism, and that every classroom display the Declaration of Independence, so kids have a map to where the Templar gold is buried. He's creative. He's funny. I think comedians are our greatest hope these days. You ought to know, Francesca, because they have a way of doing their brilliance, their routines, and making the rest of us look at ourselves and sometimes shrink down a little bit because we're so embarrassed by our conduct. I think it's the only way to reach people. You got to catch them off guard with comedy. Yes.
No, I love Walter. I mean, and he also, I think he was briefly a contributor to Rebel HQ, if not still a contributor to Rebel HQ. He's wonderful, and he very much puts himself out there. And you can get access to these meetings. And also, I would encourage, like, everyone doesn't have to have a bit or a shtick, but you can, I think a lot of, and in everyone's lives, you probably know there's a ridiculous anti-woke battle happening in your kids, at your kids' school, right? And like, we know that Proud Boys and Moms for Liberty, who are just massive psychos and also massive hypocrites, as we know from the pedophiles in the ranks of Moms for Liberty, they're out there making school board meetings sort of this like prime battleground. And so I think it's incumbent upon all of us to kind of like speak up and do our thing. And like, look, there's public comment in your cities as well. So I love that Walter did this. And yeah, the Bible is incredibly cancelable. Like, it is chock full of violence, chock full of sexual stuff. Yes, there's talk about cutting off foreskin and rubbing the blood, like, it's bad. And then, yes, the slavery talk, all of that. And so that's apparently fine. It's okay. I mean, and again, look, I don't know how people were raised, but even as a young kid myself, raised with some Christian education about like Jesus dying for my sins, I think there's a certain level of like, as a kid, like, what does that mean? You know what I mean? Like, it actually kind of freaks you out a little bit. And so honestly, and I'm not saying don't teach the Bible if you're Christian, if you believe in that, that's great, that's fine, you can find a way around it. But don't think that like Christian education is somehow not traumatizing or scary, right? It's just a different set of beliefs, but it's still just as scary.
Yeah, there's still some children out there who are having nightmares about Noah's Ark.
Sure, like, I want to be, do I get to be one of the 2 humans that goes on the ark? Why was Noah one of the humans? By the way, who was Noah's counterpart? I don't know. Was he like, nah, I'm just one of me?
But I think you make a strong point that if you, look, all politics is local. You start there. That's really where the power is. You got to go to where it starts, baby. Take your phone, your literature, maybe a thermos. They probably have donuts or something for you there. So enjoy them. Your taxes paid for it. And then get after it. Make your voice heard. Speak up. Tell your truth. Because all Liberty moms and, proud what's-their-faces are doing is they're louder with it.
Yes.
They're organized in hate campaigns, and they're louder with it. You get loud. This is Indisputable. In for Dr. Richie today, I'm Sharon Reed alongside Francesca Fiorentini. We're right back. It's not over. More to see. I guess that's be the sub-headline. There may be a second Capitol Hill sex tape. There may be a second Capitol Hill sex tape that's been reported. We'll put it like that. I'm sure there could be many more. Could be many more that we just don't know about. Per Semaphore, high-profile Senate sex scandal involving former legislative aide Aiden Mais Shurovsky. Actually, the second time in less than 2 years that sexually explicit videos were recorded in the U.S. Capitol and had prompted investigation. As we covered on Monday, Senator Ben Cardin, Democrat out of Maryland, fired the aide after he was accused of being in the most recent video reported on by the Daily Caller and Spectator. The video allegedly featured Mais Shurovsky and another man having sex in a Senate hearing room. Capitol Police are still investigating the incident. Now, a spokesperson for Representative Dan Newhouse, Republican out of Washington, confirmed reports of reported unbecoming behavior by a senior staffer in their office that triggered an investigation last year, which they added, no conclusive evidence was found. Staffer, who Semaphore is not naming, denied he participated in explicit videos and disputed elements of the office's characterization of the episode at a telephone interview and a series of text messages. He said he was informed of the investigation in June 2022, but told the congressman in July that it had ended with no evidence to the allegation. He said he left in the fall of 2022 on good terms for unrelated reasons to take a job outside of Washington, D.C. Congressman praised his work in material announcing his hire. One thing that is clear, however, there is, in fact, a second set of Capitol sex videos which circulated on Snapchat last year. They featured in the Snapchat story of a user going by Adam J with the handle Ann Jackson 2019, according to the recordings viewed by Semaphore, which were provided by a source. One of the videos watched featured a man masturbating inside a House office building, which was identifiable by standard Capitol House furniture and carpeting. The desk at which the videographer performed also held a branded congressional mouse pad. A screenshot of a second video obtained by Semaphore shows two men engaged in a sex act in an office setting. The participants' faces were not visible in any of the material viewed by Semaphore. After the video surfaced, Newhouse's office was told that a suspected participant was a member of their staff. As soon as the office was alerted, we immediately contacted the appropriate House entities to conduct an independent investigation, spokesperson for Newhouse said, adding that the office will not be providing further comment on personnel matters. Well, it's the people's house, and then there's some people using it in a way that some others don't like. I don't know what to think here, except I want you to do the people's work for real. Not enough is getting done. Too many shenanigans are going on. The Capitol Police have enough on their hands, a lot of retirements, a lot of people saying, I'm out of here after the insurrection. Still haven't recovered. They've got to wand Marjorie Taylor Greene for weapons upon entry. So I don't know where to start with this, Francesca. Perhaps you do?
I mean, it is silly. It is ridiculous that this is happening in the Capitol, in Senate chambers, I think, in the case of Cardin staffers, in the same place that the 9/11 Commission was presented. So that just seems wrong. But it's freaky up there on the Hill, I think is what we're learning. These are the staffers of a Republican now, before Cardin is a Democrat. And I'm sure he's not liking the smoke because nobody knew who the hell Ben Cardin was. And I'm like, okay, now I know who you are because of your staffer's behavior. So are you for Medicare for all? What's up? But it is kind of lurid and ridiculous, but you're right. it is also emblematic of the fact that a lot of these staffers aren't doing much. So people, call your elected representatives right now. Jam up their phone lines and ask them about real issues, right? How about an end to this war on Gaza? How about an end to the endless money that we give the Israeli military? What about a paid family leave? What about an extenuation or continuing the child tax credit? Things like that, things that actually matter. That's what we have to do. They're messing around on our dime and our time because we have to hold them accountable. So yeah, also though, what about those orgies? I'm sorry I said that. That, our boy Madison Cawthorn was ousted for. So it's freakier than we'd like to think.
Yeah, it may motivate some to run knowing that they have access, inside access. Because I don't know what you're doing here, okay? I wanted to punch a clock and get out of there. I don't want to stay at work and produce these intimate movies, okay? If you're into that, do it at home. Do it at home, okay? But get the work done while you're there and not WERK, okay? Real work on behalf of the people. This is silly season all the way. I'm not suggesting that it should be overlooked. I'm not. But in a minute, it says another sex tape. I'm here to tell you something, and I have no concrete evidence, but I'm going to state it. I'm going to declare it. There are a lot more sex tapes that were made on camera. This is a sampling. You see, when they do polling, Francesca, and they say they're sampling 100 people, 25 people. I don't know. If we already know about 2, there's got to be more where that came from. Am I wrong?
No. And we don't want to know, but yes. And also, who's filming this? Yeah. Why are they being filmed? Just come on. Just call them, give them something to do, take down your message. This is a reason to have your senators and your congresspeople on speed dial. Just, whatever, even when you're in the bathroom, when you brush your teeth, whatever it is, just give them something to do.
Yeah. And don't tell me you're not going to make any more public comment about it because, we want to know some things here. If you're going to bring it up and refer it to an investigation and whatever, independent, another investigation, Capitol Hill police are on it, then I want you to file a report. You can leave out the illustrations, but I want to know how often this is going on. Maybe Marjorie Taylor Greene, who remember she held up the Hunter Biden things and that got silly as well. She may be the perfect one because not everybody has the stomach for this, but perhaps they could get her to investigate some of this. I know it's on the Senate side. Maybe they can investigate some of this and she can lead that committee. She's not very good at other committees. She doesn't know the rules a lot of times, but she can go ahead and be at the helm of this and make the rules as she goes along. And I think that can keep her occupied for quite some time. America, look at Hollywood. Look at your life. Stop trying to pretend that you are diverse and happening and hip when you don't do right by these supremely talented artists. My God, Taraji P. Henson is so talented and versatile. Longevity, she's just so gifted. She's breaking down in tears over pay disparity. Tears.
I'm just tired of working so hard, being gracious at what I do, getting paid a fraction of the cost. I'm tired of hearing my sisters say the same thing over and over. You get tired. I hear people go, you work a lot. Yeah. Well, have to. The math ain't mathing. And when you start working a lot, you have a team. Big bills come with what we do. We don't do this alone. The fact that we're up, here's a whole entire team behind us. Yes. They have to get paid. So when you hear someone saying, oh, such and such made $10 million, no, that's not, that didn't make it to their account. Know that off the top, Uncle Sam is getting 50%. That's right. Okay? So do the math. Now we have 5 million. Your team is getting 30% or whatever your team is off of what you grossed. Not more. After what Uncle Sam took. Now do the math. So You're tired. I'm only human, and it seems every time I do something and I break another glass ceiling, when it's time to renegotiate, I'm at the bottom again, like I never did what I just did, and I'm just tired. I'm tired. I'm tired.
I get that.
It wears on you, you know? Because what does that mean? What is that telling me?
What is it telling me? Yeah. And what does it tell me? Yeah.
You know? And if I can't fight for them coming up behind me, then what am I doing? I'm sorry.
Yeah. I feel for her. Do you want to work hard and spend your whole career trying to reach a certain level? Well, you've earned the right to be there. And guess what? You know how that work is recognized? Fans, praise, and the American way, money. If it's not money, then nobody should get paid well, okay? Taraji P. Henson mentioned this previously in a talk with Jamel Hill.
You talked about the Benjamin Buttons experience that you had, finding out that you were making, 2% of what Brad Pitt was making. And you had to pay for your own travel, right? Or your own accommodations once you were there shooting in New Orleans, correct?
Let me tell you how it works. So they give you an allowance, right? They give you an allowance to find yourself somewhere to live. At the time, I didn't have a team to do all of that for me. You know, now I have a team. I don't have to deal with that. They make sure I get where I want to live, blah, blah, blah. But at the time, I wasn't where I am today. And so they gave me money to look for a place to live, but you got to remember they only paid me $150,000. Now let me break this down for you, because I remember people, well, $150, that's a lot of money. Let me break it down. 150 taxed is 50% of that. Okay, so 150, 50% of that is what, 75?
Yep.
And then I got to pay another 30% of that to my team. So then what's left? The next thing I have to pay is for my son's school at the time, which was $30,000. So you see, that was not enough money to last me throughout the year. I didn't get the whole $150,000 like you think up front. That was what I got. After taxes is not $150,000. And so when it came time for me to do the math, I was like, do I take this whatever money they gave me for my allowance to find somewhere to live and live lavishly in New Orleans? Or do I pocket that money because I need it and I'm going to go live in the damn embassy suites for these 3 months or whatever, you know? And because I'm the type of artist I am, I had to swallow my pride. I really had to swallow my pride because that is such an injustice. And all we were asking for was $500,000. That's all we were asking for.
Yeah. The math ain't mapping. The math ain't mathin'. Okay. And I don't know what Brad Pitt knew or didn't, but when you are likely at a stature in Hollywood as a white male leading man for years and years, decades, I've heard about this thing called the back end. You're getting it, you're involved, you're all kinds of production level credits. I would want to know that the people working with me who I helped select, I'm sure he helped select the project, and I'm calling him out because I don't know who the director and these other people were. I'm going to make sure she's good, particularly as I see her on set and I want, where are you staying? And I want to make sure she's good. Maybe that happened, maybe it didn't, doesn't sound like it. Because of the pay disparity, this such a lacking. Taraji admitted she almost passed on doing The Color Purple.
Sure.
And I'm really getting tired of Black women having the same story. It's breaking my heart. Like 20 plus in the game, it breaks my heart. It's like every time you achieve something really incredible, it's almost like the industry looks at it as a fluke. Like, that was like some one-time thing. So you fall back to the bottom and you gotta negotiate and fight tooth and nail to get what you made the last time. Where's my raise? I haven't seen a raise in my income since Proud Mary. And almost had to walk away from Color Purple. Yes, ma'am. Who said what? Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am. Because you know what? If I don't take a stand, how am I making it easy for Fantasia and Danielle and Hallie and Felicia? Then why am I doing this? If it's all just for me, why are you here?
Thank goodness she's speaking out.
Yes.
And she has company. Fran, it's an outspoken, I guess an out secret, if you want to call it, among other Black actresses. Robin Thede would further validate what Henson was talking about. Watch this. Taraji is telling the absolute truth. 70 to 80% of gross income has gone off the top for taxes and commissions, agents, managers, lawyers, and for those who pay other employees as well. Baby, the math ain't mathin', and I know you're like 10 million minus 8 million is still 2 million. Yeah, that's true. However, 10 million is very rare. Most of your fave Black actresses make about 250,000 to 500,000 for starring in movies. So 50 to 100K net, and might only get one project a year. Now they have to pay social media managers because y'all will drag them if they don't have dope content. Stylists, because y'all will drag them if they look busted. Hair, wigs, because y'all will drag them if they look busted, not to mention important, like childcare. Taraji talked about that. She goes on and on, school for said kids, keeping a roof over their heads, somewhere they can feel safe with their family, away from the paparazzi who invade their privacy.
Yes.
I know this life looks glamorous for someone like her, and I know there will be comments like 100,000 is a lot of money. It is, but do the math, all of it. And it's often still living check to check and not creating generational wealth, especially living in Los Angeles, New York, all the while watching non-Black actors get paid way more. This woman is Oscar nominated. Imagine the struggle for 99% of the rest. Maybe folks won't relate, but that's also the issue, being misunderstood and people just assuming they're rich. So next time y'all see an actor working at Trader Joe's, maybe it will be, well, maybe it'll hit different. Taraji and Thede join actresses like Monique, whom have long been vocal on the pay disparity of Black actresses for years now. There is this theme, Fran, I'm gonna give you the floor. It's like this overarching thing where they say, you know what? And if they don't say it, you can feel it. You should be happy to be here.
Yeah.
And it's like, no, we work to earn. She loves the work. Clearly, you can't be that good if you don't love the work. She loves it. And she studied and honed her craft. And why should she not get paid for it when someone else who is Caucasian or a man just shows up and expects and then gets tenfold what she's getting?
Yeah. No, and not only that, I mean, the fact is that the things that Taraji has participated in, the franchises, the movies, the money that she's made for the studios is, I mean, let's do that math, right? It's incalculable, right? It goes on and on and on, again, for the streaming and all this. And this is why actors and writers went on strike over the summer. And we will see, I know that, yes, the SAG contracts were, voted on and voted for by the actors. I think everyone wants to get back to work. But now you see, whispers of a Paramount Discovery merger. And so as these mergers continue and the money continues to be made and we pay our hard-earned money into these streaming platforms, it is just like this money is not actually trickling down. And yet all the glitz and glamour is not, especially when you are a Black woman in Hollywood. So thank you, Taraji, for speaking out. Yeah. And you're right. She's not seeing the young actresses as her competition. She wants to help them by taking a stand now. So good for her.
Couldn't afford not to be excellent in every project she was in. She made us laugh, cry. She inspires us. She's just incredible. And it would be a shame for her to quit acting. And I believe her when she said she considered it, because if you're making all this great content, but you're not getting a fair share of the pie, maybe you're on strike. Maybe you can't do it anymore. Maybe it's not worth it. Viola Davis tried to tell us that.
Yeah.
Who has better credentials than her? Yep. Wonder why her white counterparts make so much. Fran, tell us about the great work you are doing and where we can find you.
Just follow me at Franny Fio on YouTube. I'm almost at 50,000 subscribers. I know that's not a lot for a lot of people, but youtube.com/Franny Fio. Bituation Room is a podcast, and I stream Tuesdays and Fridays at 1 p.m. Pacific, 4 p.m. Eastern.
All right, well, we appreciate you. We love your commentary, and I just love being with you. So I'm honored that I got to share the show with you. And thank you, Dr. Ritchie, for the opportunity to fill in. This is Indisputable. We'll see you next time.